Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Megan. Happy birthday to you. And many more. Oh, you love me, Megan. We love you. We do. We love you. We do. We love you, dear Megan. We love you. We do. Amen. I have another birthday, huh?
Yeah.
Oh,
Why are you yelling?
That's because she's going to have another birthday.
Why are you
She's
yelling?
getting older.
see you next
Don't be
week.
yelling. Is that where you're gonna donate your brain? Best wishes on your birthday and throughout the coming year. The University of Miami Brain Endowment. At least they don't send you one saying, "We're waiting for you." Right? That wouldn't be nice. So your Allison was in the bathroom this morning. She didn't finish eating breakfast. She goes into the bathroom. Of course, she takes her Kindle in there with her. It's like her own little private library. So I go in there to brush my teeth, and I told her she has to get done. I gotta go, and she kicked me, and then stretched her leg out so she could step on my foot. You weren't that bad, were you? No, pretty much you were nice to me. But you got to be about
I don't ever
15.
remember Megan doing things that Allison does.
She did it in the privacy of our home so nobody saw it, right? Did you? Gotta get that arm out of there, don't you?
You have a good day. Okay?
I hate when she does that.
If I'm not over before, I'll be over Wednesday.
Alrighty? See you later. That was her Poppy's favorite song. They used to sing it, right? What happened? Hey, but that's good. Let's see if we can find some pictures.
Bobby.
Yeah. You drooling in my mouth. Ooh, don't do that. Halloween costume, right? Annie used to always make it. Look at your wings. Oh, that was a rocket going off at night.
Oh, that's cool.
Forward.
forgetting. It's alright. Funny.
You do.
Yeah.
You do.
Okay. You ready?
No.
Get your bathing suit on.
Hi, Allison. There we go.
She got it. Now you gotta blow it up.
You do.
I don't know, this one I'll leave for Karen.
Well, hello. I tried calling you because I wanted to see what you needed to drink. And he drinks beer. You drink beer? Don't take it. Oh my God. Yeah. I guess I'm not putting my beer. Hi. Hi. Yes, I am. Hi. Hi. Right? Hi. Take a picture. Both. Take both. And I'm not even drunk yet. I got you some bubbles.
Things like the doctor had told me with Megan, her arms used to always go up in the air.
Right, I remember.
And if
Oh, no way. Fall?
amazingly enough, almost some type of Korea movements where they're not supposed to, right? They're
Not
supposed
really,
to.
the kids aren't, but
She-
it's all
she
freaking
does.
new.
But then also,
Better?
we have that thing going where when you inherit it from your mother, your counts are not supposed to be that far off from the mother.
Right.
Megan has never
Oh.
complained of pain regarding
Ever.
Never.
Ever.
Never.
Even when I run her, even when I drop her.
Even when I drop her.
She doesn't
She
complain.
got cuts. You know, I've dropped her at the movies before.
Oh, Karen.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then they get a rag and wrap it around her bleeding leg and take her back into the movie.
She never
It's like-
complained.
But the thing is, you can't understand her when she speaks.
Nah.
You know, so that's not a good thing. You know, you kind of wish you could just, you know, as much as it hurts, you kind of wish that you could just say, it's okay.
Right?
You know,
It is okay.
it is okay.
I know.
It is okay.
So you're a good
You
mom.
know. And I mentioned what Joey plans to do.
What's he planning to do?
He's just gonna stop eating.
That's what Karen says.
Right.
Yeah, my plan.
Karen's gonna
says-
just stop eating, yes.
Stop eating.
Well,
Right.
because we talked.
And you know, Joey has to leave all
Last
the
pool
food.
party, we talked.
Yeah. My friend Joni, she's
Oh.
in Pennsylvania, and when we were talking about it, and you know, she's like, I can't believe that you used to talk that way. I said, how do you expect us to talk?
Exactly.
I mean, for
This is our,
people-
this
But
is
she,
our life.
but
yeah.
she understands that when you
Yeah.
explain it to her. She said,
Yeah.
it just sounds so.
For people
Weird.
who live normally, that sounds really foreign to them. That we would think about like how
Because
like
they-
we want to go because
It's not.
they think
It's
it's
not.
gonna
Like
happen
never
How much
think
you
naturally.
pay at the gas pump? It's
Right.
How do you want to go out?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because
Yeah,
they
I
never
mean, they
have
don't
to think about it.
They don't have to think about
have to
how
think about
I have to be in a nursing home. Oh, I need a feeding tube. Oh, someone's gonna have to be watching me 24/7 for the
Right.
rest of my life at some point.
Yep.
And that's not something they have to think about.
Yeah.
And it was very much about taking care of people and being whatever other people needed me to be. And right now, I need to be whatever I need to be.
You need to be you.
Exactly, and this is what this tattoo is about.
But this is spray on now.
Yeah.
Spray it on. 4 minutes later, wipe it off with a wet washboard.
Mm-hmm.
The hair be gone, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
It,
you know what?
her
Because of her moving, you'll end up cutting her.
Should I put clothes on?
Hi, I'm Karen Millick. When I got tested and I found out that I had Huntington's, I came home and decided to get a will, a health proxy, and get long-term health care. I wanted to make sure that nobody would have to take care of me. I could do it myself, or I would get help and it wouldn't be the people, my friends, my family. I didn't want to make anybody do that. Allison's mom, Megan, is a good friend of mine, and she was sick with the juvenile Huntingtons, and we would hang out and go to the movies every Sunday. I would pick her up and go to the movies until she got too sick and we had trouble getting her out of the car. Emma is my niece. She is 19. She lives with me because her mom died of Huntington's last February she died. And Emma took care of her for the last 10, 12 years and did a great job taking care of her. And when Emma started to come up here and visit me, her mom got sicker each day because her dad didn't do a great job of taking care of her. And Emma lives with me now because her mom is gone and her dad now is sick with Alzheimer's. So she's a great kid. Or she's not a kid. She grew up quick because of the Huntingtons.
My name is Kathy O'Donnell. I am 60 years old. I work as a medical records specialist, and I live in Florida. My husband's family is where my children got it from, and I had found out while I was pregnant with her. I wasn't aware of it prior to that. My two kids were both diagnosed in the same month back in 2004. At that point, my daughter was pregnant, and the stress of the pregnancy actually brought on the symptoms. You know, it really didn't start till she was, I would say, around the 8. You know, there were other little things, balance-wise, and you know, she had a lot of issues with balance, and you know, so she never was able to ride a bike without training wheels, and you know, can't do certain things because of her balance. So that kind of leaves her out with a lot of kids. There's a lot of things about him I won't say. My son deciding to be tested because he basically needed to know. He was not symptomatic at the time he was tested, but he was depressed, not knowing. So we just, you know, in discussing it, we decided that the best thing for him to do was to be tested. He could either understand that this is what's going to happen, or he could move on with his life if it was negative. But you know, there was no such luck. It didn't work out that way. It's gonna be the last time you hit me, you know. She ran away. She does that too. She don't go far. It's hot out there. First time she went and I went to go after her, then she starts running. So then I decided I don't go after her anymore. She walks about 10 steps, turns around and looks at me, to see if I'm looking, and I'm always peeking out the windows that she can't see me. And then eventually she turns around and comes back. So I'm not sure how far she'll go this time, but oh well, guess I better go. Life before HD isn't really much different than it is now, except for the added responsibility of being a caregiver. There's not much you can do to change it, so I kind of just decided to go on with life as normal. And, you know, try to just... I don't dwell on the fact of what the future brings. I kind of make everybody, my children, you know, aware of the fact that, you know, wait, this is life, this is what we're dealt, and we're going to deal with it the best we can. That's us. What about these? What about these?
Okay. It's on.
Hmm?
It's on.
This one, of course, got to be this one, because if it don't fit this foot, push, push. Not my finger. You need a hammer. Okay, walk. Up and out of man. Walk in your shoes.
What?
Just walk down there and back. How do they feel? I think they're cute. I think they'll work. Do you want to try that on?
No.
I didn't think so. Look at all these cards. Do you think you're special? Happy birthday.
Yeah.
From Belle and Will, with half-naked men on front. It's your birthday and these guys are looking for you. But since they didn't stop and ask for directions, they ended up on this card instead. Oh well, happy birthday anyway. We keep lighting up the world. Big hugs. Christy, Charlie, and Max. Everybody signs their dogs' names to cards. Here's another dog card. What is it with people with birthdays and dogs? When I first saw you, when I first held you, when I first called you my daughter. Loved you then, love you now, love you always. Happy birthday to my wonderful daughter. That's you. Did you think you were going to be 33? A year older? You're making yourself a year older? Why don't you just make yourself 40? You can make yourself 40. Yeah, I'm 40. Then we'll say, oh my, you look good for 40. Right? You look good for 40. You are your mother's daughter. Huh?
Oh! my god.
You know, she said to me earlier, talk to the hand. Talk to the hand. That's what she said to me. I said, where did you learn that from?
Mom.
You gotta say goodbye to Mama. And you gotta
Bye.
say, and happy birthday.
Bye.
And happy birthday.
I don't think that Megan was ever capable of actually being a mother to Allison. At the very beginning, the disease seemed to move pretty quickly in her, you know, and her and Allison, I don't think they ever really bonded as mother and daughter, so to speak. They have their moments where they used to both laugh. I wouldn't be able to understand Megan, and Allison would be able to understand what she would say, which totally amazed me. It was sort of like that thing where twins can understand each other when they talk. I mean, neither one of them would make sense, and I would look at Allison and say, "What did Mama just say?" And she would come out and tell me what she said, and then they would laugh at me like I was the stupid one. I wasn't understanding what was being said. But they still have their moments where they can laugh, and you know, they talk. Allison will talk about something, and Megan will laugh. But Megan isn't capable of communicating by speech anymore. Do you have a head? Do you have a head? What is your? It's almost like you're in a pillowcase. Hello. Good morning. Right. Look, there's your face on there. How were you today?
Good.
Okay. I'll talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.
I put your face on there, so when you call, I'll go, oh no, it's Allison.
Hey.
Oh no. Oh no, it's Allison. Can't forget your bathing suit, just in case, right? And for some reason, I'll even bring mine. Pantaloons? What else do you need to bring?
I think one thing that comes up pretty often is that the person with HD can get really stubborn in ways that once they're into that position, they just can't be talked out of it. And this can be really, really difficult for especially caregivers too. And sometimes HD patients will take very just unreasonable positions, and there's no reasoning them out of that. And I think a lot of times the patient really doesn't have control of it. They're just kind of, that's the way they're reacting, but it's real for them. It's real for them. And if I'm their doctor, they can be perfectly well behaved with me in the office and all the staff, and they can be really vicious to those who are actually taking care of them most of their times, which are usually their closest family members. So that's a really tough dynamic.
People do choose to have children naturally. People choose to adopt. People choose to go through other kind of testing to make sure that their child doesn't have HD. And it's all, you know, a person's individual choice. You know, they might have different feelings about, you know, what is ethical or what is moral. they, might not really be thinking about it, that's, kind of in the future. And, for now, we just have to worry about, what's happening right now. And I think that's part of, why we're here, to create awareness and, have support systems in place, and ultimately to find, the cure or medications or treatments, that'll help everybody.
Ready?
Yeah.
Who are you?
I'm Katie Moser. Great stars. Not expected. I'm unsure. I'm Katie Moser. I'm 34 years old, and I'm from New York. When the gene was identified in 1993, I, had heard about that, and I started to question, that I could find out that, someday if I was gonna become like my grandfather. I didn't have a great understanding of what Huntington's disease was, but based on what I witnessed, I knew that I wanted to know. I've met Allison and Kathy at multiple conventions over the years, but to see their relationship change over the years and to see Allison grow, it's been it's been difficult to see Allison progress, but also that they still come to convention and they still travel is just it's really nice for Allison to be with us, and they're like family. They mean a lot to me.
Star Wars. What is it? What's the one with Spock? What's the one with Spock?
Star Trek.
Star Trek.
For those customers traveling on flight 1212 with non-stop service to Baltimore.
My experience with Allison, I met her a couple years ago at convention, and her grandmother, and she touched my heart immediately. My brother also has juvenile Huntington's disease, and with that comes different struggles, different trials and tribulations. And to see Allison's positivity, to see her smile, her excitement for everything that we do, whether it's the NYA, whether it's the gala, whether it's the talent show, she has just this light around her, and you can't help but smile when you see her. You can't help but say hi to her. You can't help but to want to just make her day better, because it's very difficult to see such a young person going through JHD, and it's very hard for us to really understand what it is that she's going through. And so to be able to see her laughing and smiling and joining with the other children just like she's everybody else, because deep down she's just a kid and she's like everyone else.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Baltimore, where the local time is 3:45 p.m.
I first became aware of Huntington's disease when I was 11 years old. My dad was diagnosed at the age of 35 with HD. My grandfather, Walter Mabry, had Huntington's disease, but we weren't quite sure what was going on at that time. I've been tested. I was tested in March of 2013 after my 23rd birthday, and I found out that I was negative for Huntington's.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not 2 words.
And then really quick before we get moving, so of course a group of people will be going
But I actually have Huntington's disease in my family. I've lost my mom, my aunt, and my brother, and I take care of my sister now. And in 2009, I tested negative. And this is not something I would ever consider walking away from. How old are you? Okay. And where do you live? And that's in what state? So, did you hear her? She lives in Florida. And how is Huntington's disease affecting you? You want to say? Yeah. Your mom has it? Okay. Her uncle? And her. Gotcha. And you've been to how many conventions now? 3? You sure? I thought I've done more chicken dances than 3. Wow, okay.
I signed her up for the chicken.
Did you? So this is your official 3rd one? All right, very good. You know, people can always sympathize with you, but they really can't really understand. Do you guys have anybody that you can talk to? No. What about you? Who do you talk to? Nana? Yeah. Anybody else? No? Well, Nana's a good one to talk to.
She always had a problem making friends in school, so we have taken her out of the regular public school and we put her in it's a medical facility, but they have schooling there, and she kind of fits in because a lot of the kids have problems and she doesn't feel, I think she's more comfortable there, you know, but as far as she has like no friends, so to speak of.
No play dates.
No play dates, no, nothing. She ended up she ended up going to Pennsylvania full time when she entered kindergarten because the courts felt that Megan was not capable of taking care of her. And even though she lived with me as a grandparent, I didn't have any rights. So she moved to Pennsylvania with her dad. About 1.5 years ago, she came back to live with me. She became symptomatic a little before her 9th birthday, and she's now she's going to be 12 next month. So, you know, so now she lives here with me. Her dad, you know, does see her because he does live down here in Florida now, but you know, she is just living here with us.
I've known Kathy. I used to think she was just my Huntington support group friend, but she's now my friend and always been there for me and helps me out. And she's a good person, and what she does with Allison and Joey and Megan is amazing. How much she has on her plate, and yet you can't ever see it on her face. What she wakes up to every day, and how sad it is that she's got all these sick people around her that aren't going to be here as long as she is, and she's taking care of them and making them happy, and she's a good person.
I mean, you know that I really admire this community. I really do. It's I think they're the model of grace under pressure. I think in general they've been dealt a really crappy hand, and you know, this is a good group of people to be in with. Right? If you're gonna be throwing in with a group of people, it's like, this is a good group. But I'm also, you know, as a scientist and clinician, I've got a lot of guilt because we're not where we need to be. We're just not where we need to be. We haven't fixed this thing, so I want this to move faster. So, I mean, that's it.
First of all, by a round of applause, how was lunch? You guys have seriously kicked behind and been impactful in ways that, let's face it, that adults have not been. not only this year, but last year.
Each of us have 2 copies of the Huntington gene, one that you inherited from your mother and one from your father. And in Huntington's disease patients, one of those copies is mutated. And there's a piece of the gene which is a little bit too long. You know, when I used to lecture to medical students, I'd give them a thought experiment. Say, okay, people, imagine that one of your parents has HD. Now, who here would get tested? And what you see is about 50% of the students would put up their hands. But the real rate of people getting pre-symptomatic diagnostic testing is about 5%. And so I'd say to the class now, do you think these people are just stupid? Or why is it? And where we are now with getting a pre-symptomatic diagnosis, there's, I think, a perception that that's information that may not be helpful to you because there is no treatment right now, and in some ways could be harmful to you if, in terms of having that information used against you. In terms of passing it on, I think that's something that is really so highly personal. I've seen people arrive at different decisions. I've seen, and I know people who've decided they're not going to have kids just because of this risk. I see a lot of people who do have kids and say, if I've got the gene and if I pass it on, or if I've got the gene, then my kids will grow up at risk, which is just like what I've done. I think a lot of people would take advantage of this PGD, this pre-implantation genetic diagnosis. It's unfeasible for a lot of people just because that costs a lot of money. But I know people who've done that, and they've guaranteed that their child will be free of HD. And at the same time, they don't necessarily need to get tested themselves in order for that to happen.
A friend of mine just had a baby. She's at risk. She hasn't got tested, and she's a great mom. Every single day you just see her face, and she's scared for them every single day, knowing that this could happen to them. And that's another thing you got to think about. If you're going to have kids, is every day, am I going to worry that they may get this? And is that, a way I want to be every day? I want to worry.
It made me think about things differently, and I actually had a list of things that I would do if I was positive, things I'd do if I was negative. But the biggest one was deciding to have children. I got tested because I wanted to be able to plan for the future, and I did not want my children to grow up being at risk. So finding out that I did have the gene meant that I was deciding to do a pre-implantation genetic diagnosis with IVF. I had 4 viable embryos, so they tested the cell, and unfortunately all 4 of my embryos tested positive, so all 4 would have developed into, would have developed Huntington's disease.
When I found out my daughter was pregnant, I basically discussed with her the chances of her having HD and passing it on to her child. But, she was 19 years old and she wasn't going to listen to me. So she was actually probably 6.5 months pregnant when she was tested. So we found out that she was positive, and they actually checked Allison before she was born, and we found out that she also would be positive. I can be thankful that she doesn't have seizures, because a lot of the younger kids do have seizures, and we haven't had any issues with that. I do notice the progression of the disease is faster in her than my other 2. My son's is kind of slow moving, Megan's was kind of medium, and then Allison's is, but it's also the difference in the CAG repeats, where my son's is 51, Megan, my daughter, is 68, and Allison is 80.
From the state of Florida, she comes with backup dancers. So let's welcome to the stage Allison.
To work with a number of kids with JHD, and it's difficult as a caregiver. It's as a physician, it's really difficult because these kids tend to be very severely affected, and they die at a fairly young age. I think as a neurologist, these are kind of the cases that really stay with you for a long time, and they're haunting. It's tough. It's really, really tough.
Megan's mind is still there 100%. It's just her body that is shut down. So I think that's the hardest part when I look at it. I think I would rather have the cognitive issues so that maybe you would forget some of the things that are happening to you than knowing everything that's happening to you. It's a horrible, horrible disease.
We lost a friend. She was 24 a couple weeks ago. We went to that funeral, and Allison's getting sick, and people need to know that that juvenile Huntington's is happening, and it's not something that just Huntington's is not something that happens when you're 30 and 40 and 50. It's 10 years old, and you can't go to school anymore.
I just wish more people out there would be aware of the fact of it, of the juvenile part of it. There seems to be so many more children now than before, that at least I'm being made aware of, because I think that it's finally getting out there that this isn't only an adult's disease, and we need help. We need people to. We need to find a cure. We need to find something to save these young kids, because they don't have a life. They just don't have a life.
That heavy load on me, but you can carry me. Oh, you can carry me not wade into the river. I will not follow you to sea. I cannot wait to be delivered, darling. No ship would carry one like me. I will not wait